Welcome, people, friends, and cohorts. And of course, good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you may be watching this now. I, again, am trying to come back in and do a quick video because I'm very busy getting ready to go to a conference. Very excited about the conference. It's in Texas, and it's the first national political status national conference in the United States of this level with this number of people. I'm sure it looks like there will literally be thousands of people there. It's the 1776 live conference, and I was very fortunate to have someone gift me a ticket to help them drive. And I'm just super excited about being there with like-minded people. And I'm hoping to try to go live while I'm there. And maybe we'll find some people to talk to. And that'll be the first opportunity for me to go live with people. So I'm going to try. I'm not going to make any promises, but I am going to try. I think that would be a really exciting thing to share with the world. Of course, with the amount of social media people that we have these days, I'm sure someone else will be there offering that as well. But I'm going to do my best to try to give my perspective of the event. And I hope that you'll enjoy it. We'll see what happens anyway. I'm not going to make promises, like I said, but should I get that going, I hope you enjoy it. In the meantime, I wanted to come on here and talk about some interesting things that I've seen come up in social media chats and just some developments and, more dots than I'm connecting. And more things that are indicative of the tide turning, so to speak. I was sitting on the Mark Z show this morning. I really like to hear his insights as he goes over the news articles that he covers, international news, as well as revaluation news that talks about the many currencies that may be revaluating. I don't really like to use the word reset, although many people do use that word. And so somebody kept putting in the chat about a good question that seems like it might be on a lot of people's minds about what's the mechanism to have actual prices revalue back to the 1960s. This was what they put in chat. I personally tend to think it'll probably be more like the 1970s. In the past, we've heard people talk about it being the 1950s. I think 60s or 70s, probably 70s is more realistic. And, I think there's a lot of people who don't probably comprehend how that even is possible or makes any sense. Hence why this person was asking in the chat, what's the mechanism? How is it possible for that to happen? Well, it's much more simple than people might think. And it has to do with, I think there are some basic economic principles. I am no economist by any means. I just have a background around money stuff. And so I tend to have a decent ability to grasp these concepts, even though I did not study it in college. So again, I'll repeat my background for those of you who are just seeing me for the first time. I was in the mortgage industry in the United States for over 22 years. I've been in sales. I was a processor, senior processor, and in the last year and a half, I was actually an underwriter. So I, of course, started to I had some moral conflicts with that after learning to understand our financial system better. I was in the mortgage business because I wanted to help people and make a good living. And it seemed like a good way to do that for many, many years. So throughout that 22 years, I learned a great deal about finance and not just about mortgages, because there was a great deal of analysis involved with taxes and assets and all sorts of numbers things that are often very boring and difficult for other people to pay attention to, or for the majority of people to pay attention to. It's just boring. But I just seem to have that mind that appreciates details. So it worked for me. So back to the question, what's the mechanism? How is it possible that it makes sense that we could actually see values reset in our economy? When I say values, I mean the cost of goods and services reset or revalue back to 50s, 60s, 70s era prices. How is that possible? How does that even make sense? Well, to comprehend that, there's a few things to grasp. One, if we look at history, it'll help us understand this. You remember the United States was always supposed to be on a gold standard, right? When we came off the gold standard, that started to have an impact on things like inflation. Then in 1964, they decided to take it completely away from precious metals altogether, because it wasn't just gold. We called it the gold standard, but it was really gold and silver. Of course, there was copper in our pennies as well. So really precious metals, right? So that is a tangible commodity that comes from the earth. It's not something that you can hypothecate, so to speak. So when we came off of the gold standard and then they took all the silver out of our coin in 1964, then they could print as much paper currency as they wanted to. And then that's when inflation started, because then the ever-present they could actually control the mechanism of finance with currency. There was no longer a commodity that they could not control, like precious metals. Precious metals, you actually have to take out of the ground, out of the earth, right? And if your currency or your money is backed by precious metals, that's actually is what makes it money, is when it's tied to a solid commodity. Then you don't have that control where you can just say print money like mad, as much as you want. And then you can actually control the economy. I hope that makes sense. I'm trying to, as usual, I try to do a really high overview to simplify concepts to help make it easier to follow. So hopefully I'm on the right track, and that'll help you kind of see why inflation happened in the United States in the first place. You will always see some variations in values in the marketplace. However, if it's based on a tangible good, like precious metals that you have to take out of the ground, that becomes a gauge where you can't say it's a lot faster to just print money than it is to go mine gold or silver, right? Anyway, so that's how we really got into these big ups and downs of inflation, where it made it possible for our ever-present they that like to control those things to have the ability to play with the market. It made it so they could actually create situations to profit from, such as our battles, our WARs, that we can look through history and see how all that worked. They still did that before, when we were on a gold standard or precious metal standard, but it wasn't as frequent, and there were other things involved. So I think you can probably figure that out. I'm sure you guys are all smart and you can figure that out and do your research, right? I know you can. At any rate, so I hope that makes sense out of how we could actually go back to the values in, say, the 60s and 70s. Because if we go back onto a gold standard, then now everything levels back out. It would happen very quickly, actually. So I hope you can get excited about that. I'm excited about it. And don't get scared. Yes, house values will change with that. Everything will. But it's important that we go through this adjustment because that will help us go back to stability. And everybody should want stability, except for, of course, people that might be a little greedy and they might want to profit from other people's losses so they can pad their pockets. That's another issue. I feel kind of sorry for them. And, hopefully we can help them work through those psychological issues someday, because there's plenty for all of us and we are here together as a community. We can support each other and we'll find a lot more happiness that way. Anyway, that's what I think. For whatever that's worth. As always, like I continue to say, I am willing to be wrong. So one of the things that I find super exciting about my journey in the national process is part of that journey is learning about these different jurisdictions of law. And you learn more about how things like our monetary system work, for example. That ties into this because while the national journey that I'm on does have direct relation to my political status, that still it's a huge impact. It helps me see things in a different way in the world that we're living in and expand my comprehension of finance. I just realized the other day, it finally hit me, it should have hit me before, that Mr. T, what he was trying to show us, all of us, and a lot of people laughed, which is funny. It's funny that they laughed. It's very cool that he did this. He was literally showing us that we can create our own currency anytime. So you have to comprehend again the difference between legal tender, which is currency, and money, or lawful money rather. Let's call it lawful money to be more specific, because we commonly call legal tender or currency money, although the proper definition of money is something, it has to be asset backed, like with precious metals, like the gold standard. So technically, the dollars that we have in the United States, for example, are not money. They're legal tender or Federal Reserve notes, which we could also, for fun, shorten that to FRN and call them ferns, right? So we'll just call them ferns for fun. So the legal tender ferns are currency. And that's a fun one when you look up the definition of currency. I don't have it memorized. And like I said, I just wanted to jump on here quickly and do a quick talk on this because it is exciting to comprehend what's going on in the world. And this is a hot topic that affects everyone, right? So lawful money and ferns or currency are two different things. Now we know that. Well, ferns or legal tender currency, NFT cards or non-fungible tokens, the digital cards that Trump announced he was putting out there, that's currency, right? So are stocks and bonds. You can use some commodities. You can even say coffee beans. There's actually a really neat court case out there where the judge accepted coffee beans in payment for the fines because the individual, the person, not the best words, anyway, that was, had to pay the fine, the defendant, right? They comprehended that currency comes in different species. So that's another fun rabbit hole that you can get into if it's not too boring for you to get into economics and that sort of thing, finance. Anyway, so currency has many different species. The NFT card that Trump came out with is a species of currency. And he was literally showing us how anyone can create currency. And that actually also ties into legislation. Oh gosh, and I'm not going to remember the years, but if we go back and we look, when they took, oh, of course I remember the year, 1964, when they took us off, they took the silver out of our coin in 1964, that they had to give us a remedy to pay for our goods and services because they had taken out the precious metals that made our money. It wasn't money anymore when they did that. Now it became just currency or legal tender or ferns, dollars, what have you. So they had to give us a remedy. And that remedy encompassed a few things. But one of the things a lot of us don't realize, and this is what I'm learning on my path of national exploration to learn, you can literally create currency anytime you want. So this, and Trump showed us that when he released the NFT cards, he showed us that. That's what a lot of this stuff is: stocks, bonds, our digital currencies. Those are all different species of currency, right? So, and when you start to learn about this, you actually find out it's not that difficult to create this stuff. It's not counterfeiting. Counterfeiting would be when you actually go and say print dollars. That is not what I'm talking about, to be clear. I'm talking about when you create a bond or you create an NFT, it's a negotiable instrument. You can go and create a negotiable instrument and take it to a bank, negotiate the value, have a QSIP number assigned to it, and now you have created a currency. That's a very, very summarized, really short overview, but it's possible. And you can do that if you would like. So I think it's good, actually, that I don't have a lot of subscribers right now, because I'm sure that I would get in mega buku trouble for talking about this. Someday it's probably going to bite me. In the meantime, hopefully I can get a message out, right? So there you go. I hope that is enlightening. Oh, and of course, for the final end to this video, let me explain why that's exciting. It's not just exciting because I'm showing you how you can create currency. Currency is not the greatest thing. We really want to go back to a gold standard, so to speak, or have our monies be backed by tangible goods like precious metals. And in the meantime, as we go through this transition, this is really exciting. Oh, I don't want to forget. If you go, one of the other things that's exciting that is getting talked about in social media right now, they're calling it the W4 sandwich. Of course, this is only for the United States. I'm sorry, I do not know all of the ins and outs of other countries. But if you go and search literally W, the number 4 sandwich on Rumble, you'll find this really great information that will teach you something relevant to this that could be very, very helpful for you. And I will put the link in the description. I think it's important that people connect their own dots because it's really good for people to comprehend. You can explain something to someone, but until they actually connect the dots themselves, that knowledge doesn't become useful, right? And I want this to be useful for you. So I'm encouraging you to go out there and find this information and connect the dots. That W4 sandwich on Rumble is fabulous. It's really short, it's to the point, and it's simple. It's not going to take you very long to watch. You can watch all parts in an hour or less, and it's inspiring. You don't have to be a national to do it either. You can just be a US citizen. So I encourage you to go learn about that and expand your knowledge, open up the options that you have, and don't be afraid to learn about finance. It's not as boring as one might think. Okay, so back to the exciting part, right? So gosh, I'm going to try to maybe, I'll put a link to one of Bo Polney's recent interviews in the description as well, because this is also somewhat biblical. Who knew, right? So to me right now, I had a moment the other day where I was just so excited, realizing, oh my gosh, Trump was showing us this the whole time. Uh-oh, I said his name again. Mr. T was totally showing this to us. I may have to edit that out. Mr. T was totally showing us how we can create currency, and that would solve a lot of problems for us. I think that we may be seeing that with the TRB stuff as well. I'm still speculative on that. It just seems so strange. I'm not sure that I trust that. So I am not endorsing anything. I just am talking about current events and things that we are seeing happen. That's it. You need to do your own research on everything. I am not giving any advice. So, and you need to be educated on this stuff before you try to do anything. So I'm not even doing anything yet. I just am figuring things out. So it's exciting because this really is a Red Sea moment. If you look around and you notice and you see all these people waking up, the lies aren't sticking, so to speak, anymore. The media, mainstream media, is getting called out. Their stuff isn't sticking anymore either. And more people are waking up. It's not just about the wake up to me that is like waves building, but that's where I'm going. I'm going to the Red Sea moment right here. It's also about this currency thing. And it's so fun when you look up currency because it's literally flows like water. The definition relates to that. So, like with water, you can dam it, you can open the dam and close the dam, right? Well, that's kind of what they do when they print money, or not money, wrong terminology, legal tender, right? Okay. So as we see people wake up, the fact that we have this de facto financial system with legal currency as opposed to lawful money is totally going to bite these they guys in the butt. And that's what really excites me. It totally is like we're walking through the path in the Red Sea and everybody waking up and learning about how finance works. The waves are building and they're about to crash down on the pharaohs, trying to come after us as we escape their slavery system. They're going to get stuck in the middle of the path. And this ocean of all of us, all of you that have learned how their de facto system works is going to crash on top of them. And the system is going to go away. And we're going to go back to a stable financial system. And there's nothing they can do about it because all of their de facto system was simply held up by lies. And when nobody believes the lies anymore, it all falls apart. So I hope that makes sense. It's a tricky subject to explain, but I hope it helps shed a little light on how we can go back on our values. And I hope you're excited like I am. So I am having a bad hair day, so that's why my hair is back. I'm getting my hair cut tomorrow. So hopefully when I go live at the conference, I'll look a little prettier for you all. Anyway. I don't think you come here to see me look pretty anyway. I hope that you come here to get information, and I hope that it's valuable. So in the meantime, please take good care of yourself and have a beautiful day. See you soon.